Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, Dionisio de Aguilar confident in the leadership of Dr. Hubert Minnis. We take a look at how some people cope with the stigma that comes with HIV/AIDS. Sudden cardiac arrest, a current concern for teen athletes. And as always, we count down our top quotes of the week. Welcome to our news. I'm Kyle WALKINE. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, Free National Movement candidate for Montague, Dionisio de Aguilar, says he is ready to retain that constituency for the party come 2017. The businessman has been outspoken on numerous issues, with the most recent being the Bahamar debacle. But with such a strong personality joining the ranks of the still healing FNM, de Aguilar was asked if he feels he can confidently follow the lead of party leader Dr. Hubert Minnis.
Absolutely. I mean, he is, we've obviously had discussions. I've obviously talked to him. I've asked him what his views are on things that are very near and dear to me. He's espoused a position that is similar to mine. And obviously, if I'm offering myself as a candidate for the Free National Movement, I've decided that he's my man. And he is the man that I am willing to follow.
Minnis has undoubtedly endured a rough 4 years as opposition and party leader, with MPs threatening to write the Governor General if he didn't call an early convention, and multiple criticisms in public about his style of leadership. But de Aguilar said upon speaking with Minnis, he sees a different type of leader. Dr.
Minnis is someone who, in my humble opinion, is open to change, wants young people, came and recruited me, said we need a businessman to the table. You know, I like your views, I like what you say. I said, okay, that sounds great. And you know, I've got some good ideas, and I've gained 20 years of experience running a business in this country, and when you do it for that long, you obviously can offer something when you get around the table, should you be lucky enough to win.
De Aguilar has been commenting on national issues for a while, and upon making the decision to join frontline politics, he knew he had to join one of two parties. The choice, he said, was easy.
I think the country is a two-party state. I think there are two major parties, and if you're prepared to offer yourself and your best likelihood to be able to serve is with one of those two parties. And I simply cannot be a part of the Progressive Liberal Party and their views. I think they've already set their course. They've got an older view, a more entrenched view, a view that's very hard to change or to influence. And so I felt that I could not be a part of that organization. But
de Aguilar was a board member of Bahamar when it was under the control of then developer Sarkis Merlion. The resort is now in the process of being sold to a Chinese entity. But de Aguilar says he's been growing more and more concerned about the relationship the Bahamas has been building with the People's Republic of China, especially when it comes to loans and gifts.
We have to be very mindful of the fact that they are taking over large sections of our economy with Cable Beach and Bay Street, and obviously in Freeport, and they have made substantial loans to our government. And I just hope that in our rush, in our desire to deepen relations with China, there's not some stick at the end of this carrot that we have to be very cautious of. So I think that, you know, beware of people bringing so many gifts to your table. There's obviously something that they want in return, and we just haven't figured that out yet. So I think that we have to be very mindful that our #1 relationship should always be with the United States of America.
Well, Democratic National Alliance leader Bama McCartney says he must still question the need for government to borrow $150 million for Hurricane Matthew relief. He says he's also concerned as to why there has still been no breakdown of where all the value-added tax money is going. Simone Davis tells us more.
After the government announced that it plans to borrow up to $150 million to assist with hurricane relief efforts after Hurricane Matthew ravaged parts of the country, McCartney says that just shows that the Christie administration was not prepared to accommodate Bahamians. He said the Progressive Liberal Party must explain what every dollar is being spent on.
Shows that the government was not prepared for the hurricane, and it tells us that they again are not being accountable to the Bahamian people. They want to borrow 150, or I think they've borrowed $150 million plus dollars. They said it's going to cost about $500 million for the restoration of since the hurricane. So the question is, where's the balance of that money going to come from? and they've not identified what the $150 million is being borrowed for.
The DNA leader says the government must be held accountable for the money it has been spending and borrowing, and not just for hurricane relief.
But yet they have failed to tell the Bahamian people what happened to the $600+ million collected from FAT. And yet they're borrowing. Again, they're being, not accountable.
He noted that Bahamian taxpayers have yet to receive the explanation they deserve on where their VAT money is going.
We've seen the millions and millions of dollars wasted by this government over the last 5 years. Millions of dollars that's gone just out of the pockets of the Bahamian people and into somebody else's pocket. We've seen the wastage by this government that's cost this country millions and millions of dollars. We've seen the mismanagement of this government.
Reporting for our news, I'm Simone Davis.
Thanks, Simone. Well, in news from the Crime Beat, police tonight are asking for your help in solving a shooting incident that left a man dead. According to reports just after 1 this morning, police on routine patrol discovered the body of a male who had been shot on Peach Street and Montrose Avenue. He was pronounced dead on the scene. Meanwhile, an American visitor on board a cruise ship was arrested after he was reportedly found with a quantity of marijuana. The New York man was taken into custody and is expected to be charged sometime this week. In other news, the stigma of HIV/AIDS is still alive and well in the Bahamas, with many people affected by the disease still living in the shadows of society. The AIDS Foundation has made it its mission to assist adolescents impacted by the potentially deadly disease. But they say they cannot do their work alone. Jasmine Brown has more in this report.
President of the Bahamas AIDS Foundation, Lady CAMILLE Barnett, says kids affected by HIV/AIDS are not exempt from the stigmatism.
You may not think that there is a need for a safe space, but in our society there is still stigma and discrimination. And for many of the kids who are HIV positive or who have someone who's HIV positive in their home, this is a big secret that they carry around all day long. They don't tell their friends at school. They don't even want other family members to know. So we've provided a space where they can come and relax and where they can get support. We help them with their academic work. We have tutors. We've hired a social worker because what we've discovered is that there are a number of social issues that go along with the fact that they're also HIV positive.
For that reason, she says, the foundation has set up a special program for those adolescents to assist them with everyday life.
And at the end of the day, we were trying to produce healthy young people who are productive and independent. And so we help them with their work. We try to encourage them to get BJCs and BGCSEs. Our social worker, sometimes has to go and pick up report cards from school, take them to clinic, help them to get their passports, help them to get their birth registered. We've had a couple who the births were not even registered. Now, what does that do to the psyche of a child when your mother hasn't even taken the time to register your birth? So we're trying to provide support as far as possible.
But Lady Barnett says it's becoming increasingly expensive to fund the program. She said to successfully run the foundation's initiative for the 80+ children enrolled, organizers need $2,000 per child.
It's a program that has to continue, but it's also a very expensive program. It costs approximately $2,000 per child to operate the program. And of course, once you've started the program, you can't stop. You have to continue with the program. And unfortunately, we are still getting new persons into the program. I say unfortunately because one day it would be wonderful not to have to do the program at all. One day I hope to reach the point where these kids are accepted into society and nobody has to worry about the stigma and discrimination. But we're still working on that.
Barnett says while businesses have given tremendous support to the foundation with sponsorships, everyday Bahamians can also assist.
Well, we have a food and clothing bank, so we encourage persons, if not everyone can give a monetary donation, but if you want to, next time you go shopping, pick up a can and drop it off at a can of food and drop it off at the AIDS Foundation, or bring some gently used clothes or shoes to the foundation as well.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, it's a life-shattering experience no parent wants to occur. A healthy teen athlete playing a sport and all of a sudden collapses and dies. But it's an occurrence happening more and more frequently in the United States. And while it is very rare, it's the awareness of sudden cardiac arrest that can prevent a sporting event from turning tragic. October 2010. Soccer star Miguel Garcia collapses mid-game, suffering from sudden cardiac arrest. You see his teammates and opponents rush to his aid. Thankfully, he was revived. But Garcia would be one of the lucky ones. The latest incident to hit the Caribbean was last month in Jamaica when the star player of a Jamaican high school soccer team, Dominic James, collapsed 3 minutes into his high school soccer game. Minutes later, he was pronounced dead, and it was later revealed that he died from cardiac failure. But while the incident is rare, it's something cardiothoracic surgeon Dr. Dwayne Sands says people should be aware of, as the end result is sudden.
So they may be exerting themselves, and usually it's in a setting of aggressive activity, and boom, they drop dead.
According to Sands, 1 in every 100 children born in the Bahamas is born with a significant heart defect. Some defects may be structural, like a hole in the heart, and others may be genetic. And he says while some may be detected within the first hours of life, there are many whose signs are not detected.
Black children happen to have an increased risk of a disease called hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. What happens is that the heart muscle actually gets thick, so thick that the blood supply to the heart muscle isn't as good as it ought to be. And so when they exercise, they can have a heart attack.
A machine able to give a therapeutic dose of electric current known as a defibrillator is now being placed on more and more sporting fields across the U.S. in the event of an occurrence like sudden cardiac arrest. And with the Bahamas developing into a sporting giant, pumping out athletes in different sports, this surgeon says sporting facilities ought to be equipped.
The more we participate in sports, the more we need to ensure that our supportive healthcare systems develop, evolve the same way. So if we're going to be world-class athletes, then we need to have a world-class supportive system to make sure that our athletes are safe. Not every doctor knows what to look out for. Not every doctor is familiar with some of the problems. You may be born with an abnormality of the blood vessels that supply the heart. And an extreme exercise, as that heart is pumping, it can compress or squeeze off one of those arteries, and you can have a heart attack at 14, at 15, at 16.
Sands encourages parents of teen athletes and anyone playing high-intensity sports to get checked.
If your child is considering participating in high-level sports, at the very least, they should be examined by a competent, capable, compassionate pediatrician, and preferably by a pediatric cardiologist.
When our news returns, how CAMILLE Bahamas is coming along with service restoration. Stay with us.